John chapter 9, Spiritual Blindness and True Sight. John chapter 9 presents a powerful narrative that intertwines a miraculous physical healing with deep spiritual truths. The account begins with Jesus encountering a man who had been blind from birth. His disciples ask a question that reflects common assumptions of the time, whether the man's blindness was caused by his own sin or that of his parents. Jesus rejects this notion, stating that the man's condition was not due to sin but rather an opportunity for the works of God to be revealed. This statement reframes suffering not as punishment, but as a context in which God's glory and purpose can be displayed. Jesus then performs a unique miracle. He makes clay using his saliva, applies it to the man's eyes, and instructs him to wash in the pool of Siloam. The man obeys and comes back seeing. This act, though physically strange, demonstrates Jesus' authority and power. It also requires the man's trust and obedience, which becomes the foundation of his spiritual journey throughout the chapter. As word spreads, neighbors and those familiar with the man express confusion and disbelief. Some question whether he is even the same person. The man confirms his identity and explains that a man called Jesus healed him. Though he doesn't yet fully understand who Jesus is, he speaks truthfully about what happened. This simple yet honest testimony draws attention and skepticism, leading to his being brought before the Pharisees. The religious leaders are immediately troubled, not just by the miracle but because it occurred on the Sabbath. To them, making mud and healing on the Sabbath broke the law. Some Pharisees claim Jesus cannot be from God because he does not keep the Sabbath, while others are puzzled, wondering how a sinner could perform such miraculous signs. A division forms among them. When they ask the formerly blind man for his opinion, he responds that Jesus is a prophet. This marks a significant moment. The man is beginning to see not only with physical eyes but with spiritual understanding. Still unconvinced, the Pharisees call the man's parents. Fearful of the consequences of acknowledging Jesus as the Christ, namely being cast out of the synagogue, they carefully confirm only that the man is their son and that he was born blind. They deflect all other questions, urging the Pharisees to ask their son directly. This fear reflects the growing hostility toward Jesus and the social cost of confessing faith in him. The leaders press the man again, now trying to get him to denounce Jesus as a sinner. The man refuses to argue theology with them. Instead, he gives a plain and powerful declaration, "One thing I know, that though I was blind, now I see." This simple statement cuts through their objections and showcases the undeniable reality of his transformation. When they continue to interrogate him, the man grows bold. He challenges their disbelief, pointing out that never before has anyone healed a man born blind. He concludes that Jesus must be from God, or else he could not have performed such a miracle. Offended and unwilling to be corrected by someone they view as a sinner, the Pharisees cast him out. Jesus hears that the man has been rejected and finds him. In a deeply personal and revealing moment, Jesus asks him if he believes in the Son of God. The man, still not knowing who Jesus truly is, asks for clarification. Jesus responds, "You have both seen him and it is he who is talking with you." At that, the man declares his belief and worships Jesus, fully recognizing him not just as a prophet or healer but as Lord. This is the climax of the man's journey, from physical blindness to sight, and ultimately to saving faith and worship. Jesus then offers a profound teaching. He came into the world so that those who do not see may see, and those who claim to see may become blind. Some Pharisees who overhear him are offended and ask, "Are we blind also?" Jesus responds that their sin remains because they claim to see. In other words, their refusal to acknowledge their need blinds them spiritually. They believe they have spiritual insight, but their pride prevents them from receiving the truth. John 9 is more than a healing story, it is a spiritual parable lived out in real time. The blind man's physical healing mirrors his growing spiritual insight, while the religious leader's physical sight contrasts with their deepening spiritual blindness. The chapter challenges assumptions about sin, suffering, and divine purpose. It calls readers to recognize the light of the world, Jesus, and to respond with faith, even at great personal cost. In the end, the once blind man gains far more than eyesight. He gains truth, courage, and a relationship with the Savior.
Chapter 9. Now as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said these things, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said to him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is translated sent. So he went and washed, and came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who previously had seen that he was blind said, Is not this he who sat and begged? Some said, This is he. Others said, He is like him. He said, I am he. Therefore they said to him, How were your eyes opened? He answered and said, A man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes, and said to me, Go to the pool of Siloam, and wash. So I went and washed, and I received sight. Then they said to him, Where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought him who formerly was blind to the Pharisees. Now it was a Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Then the Pharisees also asked him again how he had received his sight. He said to them, He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and I see. Therefore some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. Others said, How can a man who is a sinner do such signs? And there was a division among them. They said to the blind man again, What do you say about him because he opened your eyes? He said, He is a prophet. But the Jews did not believe concerning him that he had been blind and received his sight, until they called the parents of him who had received his sight. And they asked them, saying, Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? His parents answered them and said, We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind, but by what means he now sees we do not know, or who opened his eyes we do not know. He is of age, ask him. He will speak for himself. His parents said these things because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had agreed already that if anyone confessed that he was Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, He is of age, ask him. So they again called the man who was blind and said to him, Give God the glory. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered and said, Whether he is a sinner or not I do not know. One thing I know, that though I was blind, now I see. Then they said to him again, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Then they reviled him and said, You are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spoke to Moses. As for this fellow, we do not know where he is from. The man answered and said to them, Why, this is a marvelous thing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshipper of God and does his will, he hears him. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone opened the eyes of one who was born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered and said to him, You were completely born in sins, and are you teaching us? And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him, he said to him, Do you believe in the Son of God? He answered and said, Who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him? And Jesus said to him, You have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. Then he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. And Jesus said, For judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see me may see, and that those who see may be made blind. Then some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words and said to him, Are we blind also? Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say, We see. Therefore your sin remains.